1996. You're perched in the death zone on Mount Everest, above 26,000 feet, where the air is so sharp every breath feels like fire in your lungs. You've pushed your body past every known limit, but now nature strikes back. This wasn't some accident. This was one of the deadliest days in Everest history. A sudden blizzard trapped climbers far from safety and buried dreams under sheets of white fury. Among them was Dr. Beck Weathers, a father, husband, and pathologist from Texas, a man whose name most people only know because of a literal miracle on ice. But ask yourself, if your body failed, if your vision vanished, if frostbite clawed at your flesh, how far would you go to survive? That question is what defined Beck's unimaginable journey. This isn't just a survival story. It's a biological impossibility. It's a tale of a man who was written off by the world twice in 24 hours, who felt the cold hand of oblivion closing around his throat and simply refused to die. Today, we're going beyond the headlines of the 1996 Everest disaster. We're looking at the near-supernatural resurrection of Beck Weathers. How far would you go to see your family one last time? And if you did make it back, would you be the same person who left? To understand the miracle, you have to understand the carnage. May 10th, 1996 remains one of the deadliest days in the mountain's history. It's been immortalized in John Krakauer's In a Thin Air, but for Beck Weathers, the nightmare started long before the storm. Beck was a pathologist from Dallas, Texas. He spent his days diagnosing death under a microscope, but inside, he was battling a crushing depression. He sought the mountains to feel alive. But Everest doesn't care about your midlife crisis. Years prior, Beck had undergone radial keratotomy to correct his vision. At sea level, it was fine. At 26,000 feet, the low barometric pressure caused his corneas to flatten. He went blind. His guide, the legendary Rob Hall, gave him an ultimatum: stay here at the balcony. If you can't see by the time I get back, you stay put. Beck waited for hours. He watched the sun dip. He watched the clouds turn from white to a bruised purple. And then the sky exploded. By 6 p.m., a monster blizzard had swallowed the mountain. Temperatures plummeted to below 40 degrees. Wind screamed at 70 miles per hour. A group of 11 climbers, including Beck, became lost just 300 yards from the safety of Camp 4. In a whiteout, 300 yards might as well be 300 miles. They huddled together in a huddle of death to share body heat. By morning, most had been rescued by the heroic Anatoly Bukreev, but two were left behind, Yasuko Namba and Beck Weathers. When rescuers reached them the next morning, the scene was horrific. Yasuko was clearly dead. Beck was barely breathing, his right arm frozen solid above his head in a grotesque Heil gesture. Here is the cold, hard logic of mountaineering. If you try to carry a dying man at that altitude, you will likely die with him. The rescuers made the calculus of triage. They decided Beck was beyond help. They left him a second time. They radioed down to his wife, Peach, in Texas. Beck is gone. This is where science ends and something else begins. Beck lay in the snow for 15 hours in a hypothermic coma. Medical journals, like the Journal of Applied Physiology, tell us what should have happened. His blood should have turned to sludge. His internal organs should have crystallized. His brain should have flickered off like a dying light bulb. But Beck later described a blue spark in his mind. He saw a vision of his wife and children. It wasn't a warm memory. It was a physical jolt. He stood up, on feet that felt like wooden blocks, with a right arm that was literally a club of ice. He began to walk. He didn't know where Camp 4 was. He just chose a direction and stumbled. He was a ghost walking through a graveyard. When he finally staggered into camp, his fellow climbers screamed. They thought he was a hallucination. A dead man had just walked into the tent and asked for a glass of water. Beck was alive, but his body was a wreck. His face was necrotic, jet black and shrunken. His right arm was dead tissue. The rescue that followed was equally miraculous. Lieutenant Colonel Mudun Katri of the Nepalese Army performed one of the highest altitude helicopter landings in history. He pushed his machine to the absolute limit of physics, where the air is too thin for rotors to grip to pluck Beck from the mountain. Most people would see this as a tragedy. But for Beck, the new Beck, it was a fair trade. The depression that had fueled his climb was gone, burned away by the cold. Surgeons eventually grew a new nose for Beck on his own forehead before migrating it to his face. It was a long, painful reconstruction of a man who had been broken into pieces. So, we have to ask the uncomfortable question, was it worth it? Beck went to Everest to find himself, and he came back missing half his limbs. He left a crumbling marriage and returned as a man who would be forever dependent on the wife he had neglected. But Peach Weathers stayed. The climb back to their marriage was harder than the climb up the Lhotse face. It required a level of forgiveness that makes summiting Everest look easy. Beck often says, if you can't learn something from dying, you're a slow learner. He didn't conquer the mountain. The mountain broke him, but in the breaking, it let the light back in. Beck Weathers is a living reminder that the line between life and death isn't a wall, it's a borderland. And sometimes, if you have a loud enough reason to stay, you can just walk back. But his story leaves us with some haunting questions. 1. The triage question. If you were the guide, could you have made the call to leave Beck behind to save the others? 2. The motivation question. Is it selfish to risk your life for a mountain when you have a family waiting at home? 3. The survival question. What is the blue spark in your life? What is the one thing that would make you stand up if the world left you for dead? If this story gripped you, hit that like button. Did Beck's survival blow your mind? Subscribe for more tales of grit, from history's unsung heroes to modern miracles. Comment below, what's your left for dead moment? Share, and let's build a community of survivors. Thanks for watching. Now go conquer your day.